In continuing to look at Lithuania's military and defense situation, I think it's high time we go over its fighter jet situation, or more specifically, its role as a host nation and beneficiary of NATO's Baltic air policing mission. In this video, I'll cover the mission, participating countries, and results that have been reported by NATO. So let's just jump into it. And so, as I discussed in a previous video, Lithuania doesn't have much of an air force. It operates some fixed-wing military transports and helicopters for search and rescue and transport, but that's about it for now. I did notice, however, that Lithuania used to fly the L-39 Albatross, but I see that one had a mid-air collision with a French fighter jet in 2011, and the Lithuanian government donated its last L-39 to Ukraine in 2021. To make sure Lithuania and the other Baltic countries have a way to protect their airspace, the Baltic Air Policing Mission was established by NATO. There's a few sources out there that discuss this, but taking a quote from the Spanish Defense Ministry's website, which I think is directly quoting NATO anyways, the Baltic Air Police Mission is a part of the alliance's collective effort in monitoring the airspace of its members, particularly those of the three Baltic republics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. The website goes on to explain that the Baltic Air Policing Mission is purely defensive, which aims to tackle the air defense constraints of the Baltic countries.
Without their own fighter aircraft, Baltic nations turned to their NATO allies to help guard their airspace a decade ago when they joined the alliance. This help has now been bolstered from 4 to a surge of 12 fighter aircraft.
The mission began in 2004 and has seen fighter jets from different NATO allies rotate in and out every few months. It started with one air police base in the Lithuanian city of Šiauliai, but expanded in 2014 to include a base in Estonia. At the time of making this video, the Estonian base is undergoing upgrades, and so a Latvian base is being used instead. So what exactly does this mission do with the fighter jets? Well, aircraft assigned to the Baltic Air Policing Mission are often launched to visually identify Russian Federation Air Force aircraft. I imagine the name of the mission, Air Police, was chosen very carefully, something that tries to avoid any association with aggressive action, despite the mission involving fighter jets. NATO says that a high proportion of Russian Federation Air Force flight activity is due to the geographical situation of the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, as Russian Federation Air Force aircraft regularly fly between mainland Russia and Kaliningrad. Over the course of this activity, they often approach or fly near NATO airspace without using transponders, communicating with air traffic control, or even filing a flight plan. And so, NATO fighter jets go up and check things out and essentially remind Russian aircraft to stay out of Baltic airspace.
An incursion would be somebody flying unauthorized over the Baltic states. If that happens, we will be sent there to show them that we are aware that they're there, showing off our armament, and hopefully that'll be enough for them to turn back and realizing that they're in the wrong place at the wrong time.
According to a NATO press release, in 2023 alone, NATO air forces across Europe scrambled well over 300 times to intercept Russian military aircraft approaching Alliance airspace. They reported that most intercepts occurred over the Baltic Sea. I guess this is why, if you live in and around Šiauliai, you might be hearing the roar of fighter jets perhaps every other day. NATO adds that the vast majority of aerial encounters between NATO and Russian jets were safe and professional. Breaches of NATO airspace by Russian military aircraft remained rare and generally of short duration. And so what does this mission look like with Lithuania? Well, countries and their contributions rotate in and out every 4 months. So whatever country's fighter jets are stationed there right now, it might be different by the time you watch this video. I can say that the very first rotation, which began at the end of March 2004, involved 4 F-16s from the Belgian Air Force. Since then, many countries have taken their turn. If this Wikipedia table can be trusted, well then the Belgians have had 6 rotations in Lithuania alone. Expanding on this, here is the count for other countries deployed to Šiauliai. There are quite a few countries, so you can skip to this part in the video if you're not interested. Oh, and I don't know much about fighter jets, so big apologies if I read or pronounce some of these names incorrectly. Okay, on to the list. Canada and their F-18s have had 1 rotation, and then there have been 3 rotations for the Czech Air Force and their JAS-39C Gripens, 8 rotations for the Royal Danish Air Force and their F-16s. The French have had 7 rotations to Lithuania with either their Mirage 2000s or Dassault Rafales. The Germans have had 7 rotations to Lithuania as well. These have either been Eurofighter Typhoons or F-4 Phantoms. The Hungarian Air Force has sent their JAS-39C Gripens 3 times, and it's been 4 times for the Italians and their Eurofighter Typhoons. The Royal Netherlands Air Force has been to Cholet twice with their F-16s, while the Norwegians, also operating F-16s, have been to Lithuania 3 times. The Polish Air Force has had 10 rotations to Cholet, and earlier rotations saw the MiG-29, while later rotations have used the F-16. The Portuguese Air Force have sent their F-16s to Lithuania 6 times, while the Romanians have come twice. One Romanian rotation in 2007 used MiG-21s, while the recent rotation in 2023 used F-16s. The Spanish Air Force has had 7 rotations to Lithuania using either the Mirage F-1M, the Eurofighter Typhoon, or the F-18. The Turkish Air Force contributed F-16s for 1 rotation way back in 2006, while the UK has had 3 rotations to Lithuania. 2 rotations used the Eurofighter Typhoon, while 1 used the Panavia Tornado F-3. Finally, the US Air Force has had 5 rotations to Lithuania, 1 using F-16s and the others using the F-15. Looking at the list of deployments, there are a few interesting things I've noticed. First, it's usually only 1 country at a time. It looks like the most common number of jets is 4, but sometimes it can be as high as 8 per country. However, on several occasions, it's been 2 countries for 1 rotation. For example, in April 2022, it looks like Czechia and Spain were at Cholet at the same time. The most recent rotation at the time of making this video sees jets from France and Belgium here at the same time. And it was the Portuguese and Romanians working together earlier in 2023. Additionally, I've noticed that deployment numbers don't look all that consistent. Sometimes it's 1 country and just 4 jets, other times it's 2 countries with 4 jets each. And in the case of April 2022, there were a total of 13 aircraft between 2 countries. Perhaps the number of jets all depends on the perceived risk and threat and the geopolitical situation, since we all know what happened at the start of 2022. But there you go. That's everything I could find about NATO's Baltic Air Police mission, particularly as it relates to Lithuania. Since jets are scrambled on a regular basis, I do have to wonder if people in and around Cholet, Lithuania, and the other air police bases get annoyed with the noise. Or maybe it's something they're used to and or willing to endure for the sake of having their airspace protected. I did ask one Cholet resident about this, and he told me from his experience, people weren't really all that bothered by it, and if people are in the middle of an important conversation, they just quickly pause to let the planes and their noise pass, and then resume as if nothing ever happened. I guess that's really the only way to live with it. So did you know about NATO's air police mission before watching this video? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment. If you enjoy this channel and want to support me in making more videos, please consider becoming a Patreon patron. There's a link to this down in the description. Thanks again for watching.